The Ukrainian General Staff reports on the success of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Berdyansk direction. It was possible to advance east of Orikhiv in the directions of Robotny and Malatak-Machka-Novopokrivka. Western experts also record the advance of the Ukrainian army to Robotny, where they managed to reach new trenches to the north of the city. Russian telegram channels in turn reported on the attacks of the Russian army near Guliapoli in the Marfapol region with the occupation of a number of strongholds. This was also reported by Western experts. Ukraine did not confirm this. On the Mariupol sector, the armed forces of Ukraine came out from the north to Pryatny. According to the Russians, after massive artillery preparation, the Ukrainian army launched a breakthrough in the direction of the Eurozhny settlement. According to them, they still managed to hold their positions, but the Ukrainian army does not stop trying to break through the Russian defenses. Deputy Defense Minister Anna Maliar reports that on the Zaporizhia front the enemy is now moving units and using all available reserves. According to her, due to the fact that our fighters destroy enemy warehouses of equipment every day, the number of enemy shelling has slightly decreased. At the same time, the Ukrainian telegram channel Deep State, on the contrary, records the significant increase in the number of artillery shelling from the enemy in the Berdyansk sector. Despite the fact that no significant changes are visible on the map, the situation at the front is very difficult and tense. Due to a certain parity of forces and means, no one can monopolize the initiative in all sectors at the same time, writes the Deep State telegram channel. The Ukrainian command claims partial success south of Bakhmut. Russian telegram channels claimed the opposite, that in the Klishchivka area they introduced reserves and expanded the zone of control to the west of the village. Western experts also speak about this, where according to their data the Russians managed to regain control over some heights west of Klishchivka. At the same time, the Ukrainian army continues its offensive along the Seversky-Donetsk-Donbass channel and has recently managed to occupy new areas on the eastern bank, Western experts report. In the Lemond and Kupiansk sections of the Kharkiv region, the Russians are amassing a powerful grouping, said Sergei Karavady, a representative of the Eastern Group of Forces. According to him, the enemy is amassing a fairly powerful group of airborne and infantry units. Over the past 24 hours, the Russians have tried 3 times to storm the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in these directions. The attacks, according to the Ukrainian command, were repulsed. At the same time, several Russian telegram channels at once began to report on the capture of the Novoselevsky settlement by them. Western experts report that the Russians managed to take control of the hills south of the village. According to them, after this offensive, the position of the Ukrainian army in Novoselevsky becomes more difficult and there may be a withdrawal to avoid isolation from the south. In the Lemont sector, fighting continues on the eastern outskirts of Torsky, which was also reported yesterday. Ukraine did not confirm this. Also, the Russians continue to put pressure on the Serebransky forestry. Meanwhile, in the Western press, there are echoes of the NATO summit in Vilnius, the result of which was not very rosy for Ukraine. It did not receive an invitation to the alliance. In this regard, stories of tensions between representatives of NATO and the Ukrainian delegation continue. Sources in the New York Times confirmed that Zelensky's statement on Tuesday criticizing the NATO communique infuriated Americans. The publication writes that after that the Ukrainian president softened his public tone. But Dewich Wally also writes about the existence of a major non-public quarrel. According to her, the Americans at the summit hinted to the Zelensky team that if Ukraine demands too actively and too much, then the United States may cut military aid supplies. I note that such a threat, if indeed it was made, goes far beyond some personal differences between governments. After all, a decrease in military supplies may mean a deterioration in the situation at the front for the armed forces of Ukraine. Therefore, whether the United States was really ready to carry out the threat is an important question. At the same time, further inside information from the sidelines of the summit suggests that the West is considering a variety of options for the finale of the war. Some participants in the summit got the impression that the Biden administration has not given up on the idea of exchanging Ukraine security on the territory rights.